Do you need to register your business in Canada? Hi, I'm Sunny Weiderman from Personal Tax Advisors, and I get this question a lot from people, especially when they're first starting out in self-employment or running a business, and they ask me if they need to register their business. Now, what makes this question a little more complicated to answer is that they don't always know what they mean by register, and neither do I, because there's like 4 different things that register a business can mean. So let's start with what those 4 different things are. So registering a business, you could mean that you're registering a business name. You could mean that you're obtaining a business number from the Canada Revenue Agency. You could mean that you're registering for the GST/HST, or you could mean that you're setting up your business account online with CRA. And depending on where your business is, you may or may not need or want to do these various registrations. Although I will say up front that generally, to start business in Canada, you really don't have to register anything. Just start doing business and make sure you keep track of what you're earning, because you are going to have to pay income tax on that. But let's take it one by one. Registering a business name is generally done with the province. You pay a fee. You might want to do a search that they allow as part of their fees to see if anybody else is using the same business name. Even if somebody is using the same business name, you can still use it, because the purpose of this kind of business registration is actually more for setting up a bank account in the name of your business. Now, this was a little more important a few years ago when people would take payment by check. And if you didn't want to take the payment by check to your own name, if you wanted your business to seem a little more professional, or to indicate that your business included more than just you, you might want people to write a check to My Business Inc. or My Business instead of my personal name. And in that case, you would need a bank account with the same name that you wanted people to write the check to. And so for that reason, you would register a business name that would then be attached to you. You would get a document that you could take to the bank and open a bank account in the name of the business that was really your bank account. Nowadays, with sort of online payment processors, people aren't accepting checks as often. People don't necessarily need to have a business name on their bank account in order to seem business-like. And so this purpose of business registration, the registering of the name, is less important than it used to be. And it's also important to know that registering a business name does not protect that name for your use. Other people can use the same name. It just means that you can use it. So you can also register a business name that somebody else is using. If what you want to do is have a protected business name, you have to look further into sort of trademarks and brand names and a different sort of level of registration, which this video is sort of not complicated enough to involve how to do that, but that's really trademark registration. And obviously you have to start by not using somebody else's trademark, and then you have to lock it down for your own use. So if that's what you mean, you could choose to do that, but you don't need to in order to have a business in Canada. The next and most common type of business registration is getting a business number. Now, this is something that the Canada Revenue Agency issues to you. It's a 9-digit number, very similar to a social insurance number, and you can think of it as sort of analogous to the social insurance number. It's kind of like the social insurance number, but for your business. Now, just to do business in Canada, you still do not need a business number. What a business number really is it becomes the basis of the account numbers for various types of business accounts that you can optionally open up with the Canada Revenue Agency. For example, if you incorporate, you're going to need an account for your business, your corporate tax, a corporate tax account. And that corporate tax account will start with the 9 digits of your business number and then add on RC0001. Or if you register for the GST/HST, more about that in a moment, your GST/HST account number will start with your 9-digit business number and continue on with RT0001. Payroll accounts, import-export accounts. There are a number of different kinds of tax accounts that you can have with the Canada Revenue Agency with regard to your business, and each one of them will branch off from your business number. But again, until you need those accounts, you don't necessarily need to have a 9-digit business number. Now, the most common form of business registration is registering for the GST/HST. You are obliged to do this as soon as your business begins to collect revenues of more than $30,000 in 4 consecutive calendar quarters. Essentially, in the space of a year, you need to register for a GST account. Now, the GST account, as I said before, will start with the 9 digits of your business number, followed by RT0001. If you don't have a business number, you can still open a GST account. What will actually happen is that they'll create your business number and your GST account essentially simultaneously. Whether you do it by phone or online using business registration online, various different ways that you can open a GST account. When it's time to open your GST/HST account, they will give you a business number at the same time. So it's not really necessary to do it as 2 sort of widely separated steps. It is 2 steps, but a lot of times when you work with the Canada Revenue Agency, they sort of collapse it into one. And you certainly don't have to have a GST/HST number in order to have a business. Now, again, once you cross that $30,000 threshold, you have to have a GST/HST number, but before that, you can choose to have one or not to have one. And you also do not need any of these registrations, whether a business number, a GST number, or a registering a business name. You don't have to have any of them in order to write off business expenses, which is often what people are thinking that they need to do. They need to register before they can write off expenses. They need a GST number before they can write off expenses. Not true. You can collect money, you can sell your services or your goods, you can collect money, you can write off your business expenses and file your taxes that way without having registered for any of these things. You don't need a business name, you don't need a business number, and unless you're earning more than $30,000 in revenue in a year, you don't need a GST/HST account either. Now, finally, you can register or you can access My Business, which is the online portal for your CRA account for your business. So if you're an individual, you might have a CRA login for My Account. My Account is the personal, the individual tax portal. If you have a business, it can have its own portal through My Business. This is where you would access your corporate tax account or your GST account, your payroll account, this sort of thing, to carry out a lot of functions. The simplest way to do them is through online functions, but to do that, you have to access My Business. That login is something you do have to set up with the Canada Revenue Agency. If you do have a GST number, you don't automatically have access to My Account. Connecting yourself to My Account is sort of a more complicated process because there's a lot of security around setting up My Account. If you imagine if it were easy for somebody to access My Business, they'd be able to do all kinds of things with your business that only you should be able to do. So that's why security is a little bit higher. In terms of signing up for My Business, it's not as easy as setting up for a magazine subscription or an Amazon account. It's actually a little more complicated than that, as it should be, to protect people and make sure that your business is linked only to you and nobody else can get that kind of access but you. But again, a lot of the functions that are available through My Business can be done by phone if you're not comfortable online. You can call the Canada Revenue Agency at 1-800-959-5525 to do a lot of the functions that are available through My Business. However, I will say that the My Business portal makes a lot of these things easier. The Canada Revenue Agency is definitely encouraging people to get on with My Business because it makes their job easier. And for most people who are comfortable with online services, it's actually a lot easier to use and a lot faster than calling the Canada Revenue Agency and essentially getting in line for what can be a pretty long wait to talk to a person. So I hope that that has helped clarify what it means to register a business, various things. It can mean different things to different people. But the overall answer is that in most cases, no, you don't have to register anything. You certainly don't have to register to get started with your business. Now, the one exception, of course, is that if you do bill over $30,000 per year, you are going to have to register for the GST HST. But if you're just starting now, you haven't reached that line yet. So certainly as you're just getting started, you do not have to register anything to get started with your business in Canada. I hope that's been helpful. I'm Sunny Widerman from Personal Tax Advisors, and I try to put out tax tips as frequently as I'm able. Please, if you found this video helpful, give it a like. If you'd like to see more videos of this kind, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.